the Flip Trip presents Czech Trek. We learned about the turbulent history of Prague and got drunk on the city's beauty. In our first 2 episodes, we shopped for local crafts and marveled at Art Deco and Art Nouveau. We bumped into a series of icons: Alphonse Mucha, Franz Kafka, and John Lennon. We learned that beneath the fabulous architecture of the city lies a long and complicated history. And finally, we found the city's connection to the Philippines, the Santo Niño.
Then, in episode 3, we followed the footsteps of Dr. Jose Rizal to the little town of Litoměřice, the home of Ferdinand Blumentritt. We found busts of Rizal around the city and visited the town's ancient fortifications, which has been named after our national hero. Finally, we tracked down Mr. Blumentritt's grave to pay our respects.
We then hit the road for a cross-country tour of the Czech Republic. In episode 4, we stopped at Mladá Boleslav, where we visited the headquarters of the iconic Czech car Škoda and toured the city in one of their vintage cars. We also visited Olomouc, where a leisurely stroll took us to a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a cathedral where Mozart once played, and then to a cafe to sample some of the world's smelliest delicacies.
In episode 5, we visited Brno, the Czech Republic's second largest city and a place that just might be cooler than Prague. We walked around its historical center and fell in love with how green and sustainable the city is. Then we went to České Budějovice, where we discovered a treasure trove of Filipiniana.
At the town museum, there is a room full of documents from the 1800s. From first editions of Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, signed by Jose Rizal himself, to hand-drawn sketches by Juan Luna and original publications by the Filipino Ilustrados. For Pepe and me, seeing these up close and being able to hold them in our hands was a spiritual experience. We closed the episode at the breweries of Budweiser Budvar to learn about the famous Czech lager from an actual beer sommelier.
Now we've left České Budějovice for a town that comes straight out of fairy tales. The beauty and mystery of Český Krumlov. That's up next on the Flip Trip.
I'm Jessica Zafra. I'm a writer and I travel for material.
I'm Pepe Jokno. I'm a filmmaker and I travel for inspiration. We're traveling around the world
to find the Filipino connections.
This is the Flip Trip.
172 kilometers from Prague lies a town that comes right out of fairy tales, Český Krumlov. Here in Bohemia's deep south is one of the most picturesque towns we've ever seen. It's a little version of Prague, a UNESCO World Heritage Site with a beautiful castle that looks over the Vltava River, an old town square, and Renaissance and Baroque architecture, all within minutes of each other.
Now, the castle complex is second in size only to Prague Castle. It was granted to a noble family and changed hands many times over the centuries. In the last century, it was occupied by the Nazis and then the Soviets. Today, the people marching through its ancient halls are tourists.
We began our day at Český Krumlov Castle, which dates from the 14th to the 17th centuries. Here we met our guide.
Nice to meet you. Welcome in Český Krumlov. Welcome in the Renaissance.
Ooh, the Renaissance. How come?
Oh, if you look over, you can see just the Renaissance paintings, Renaissance buildings, and Renaissance tower. So, would you like to go up?
He would.
Okay, so
I will,
let's go.
I will.
Let's go.
Up there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Are you
Yeah.
in good condition?
I shall be over here comfortably reading a book.
Okay.
Okay, so let's
Bye,
go.
Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.
This castle tower stands 86 meters above the Vltava. It's a bit of a hike going up, but the view you get is worth it. 60 or so steps up to the top of this little tower, but the view is absolutely worth it. It gives you a panorama of the entire Český Krumlov, which is a beautiful city. Very fairy tale-like. I reunited with Jessica and we were taken inside the castle complex. There we saw its mix of Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque styles, which are a record of the history of the place. Every wall and corridor, it seems, tells a story.
Of course, being Filipino, we had to ask, is there Momo here?
Find out if we actually saw any mumu when the flip trip returns. Our guide took us further into Český Krumlov Castle.
Welcome to the connecting passage of Český Krumlov State Castle and Chateau. So this amazing historical construction and amazing historical interior gradually connects the castle complex with the castle gardens. These are modern Baroque castle interiors, amazing picture gallery, also private apartments of a nobleman and noble lady, private working salons, for example, and also the world unique, the Castle Baroque Theater. But the castle has a very long and very complicated history which dates back to the late 12th century. It means the oldest part, the tower and the little castle, it was first mentioned as a noble family residence in the mid-13th century, and the castle complex was gradually, continuously reconstructed and rebuilt for more than 600 years.
How about ghosts?
Yeah.
The White Lady of Rosenberg.
Ooh, a white lady. Oh, who is she?
Who is she?
And and what does she do as a ghost?
She was the daughter of the castle owner Ulrich of Rosenberg, who owned this castle in the mid-15th century. She was really beautiful and very clever noble lady. She was also the patron of the Rosenberg family. But she was married off to Johann of Liechtenstein. He was the most richest nobleman from Moravia. In this marriage, she was very unlucky. Her husband was very cruel to her. When he was dying, he asked her forgiveness, but she refused him. That is why he cursed her, and she's walking through the castle as a ghost, as a white lady.
Have you seen her?
No, I never seen.
Okay. Which ghosts have you seen?
I think he was walking through the Krumlov Castle at the time of reign of last Rosenbergs, and this tradition continued till now.
Eventually, we were led to one of the castle's hidden gems, the Baroque Theater. It was built in the 1680s, renovated in the 1760s, and forgotten before the Velvet Revolution. Now reopened, it retains its original stage machinery, scenery, and props, a rarity in today's world.
In the quiet of this beautiful theater, we did a bit of introspection.
So we're breathing dust from the 17th century in this theater within the Český Krumlov complex. Just the latest of many, many castles we have seen here in the Czech Republic. And I've been thinking, most of these castles were built by kings and nobles. And sometimes I think that the Philippines secretly longs for a king and a noble family. What do you think?
I think so too.
Yeah, because when you look at the society columns, they're called royalettes. You know, the rich people are called royalettes.
Jessica, I don't think royalettes has been used for a while.
Yeah, but you know, it was in Maurice Arcacha's column in ancient times. And then, you know, when people get elected to public office, they have to go around with a whole slew of bodyguards to signify how important they
That's
are.
true. Even the Wang
Like
Wang, which
kings.
is making a return, yeah.
Yes.
But I think that's what Marcos did to his advantage, Marcos and Imelda. They portrayed themselves to be the modern king and queen of the Philippines.
Exactly.
And it worked.
Yes, because they thought it was their obligation to the people to be fabulous for the poor.
So what about this guy now?
I don't know, because he doesn't like to go out much.
But do we see him as a king? I think we do.
No. I think the people see him as a father. You know, the father who will give them a spanking.
Ooh, kinky.
No, and punish them for what they feel they have gotten away with.
Yeah, but exactly, that's what a king does.
Yes, the king is the father of the people.
maybe he's not a king in the Disney sense of the word, but more of the medieval sense of the word.
Maybe, with all it entails.
So which actually raises a good point. I am actually more afraid of the people right now, because it's the people who want this sort of leadership.
Choice. They want this, yes. And making us an official monarchy would just acknowledge the fact that our society is still very feudal.
Yeah, it is.
We carry on like it's the 20th century, but in many places it's not. As in the way women are treated. And
oh yeah, the way things are run. We still have, haciendas and stuff.
Yes.
Women
business. Stay home, have babies, shut up. Go.
Divorce is not allowed.
Or contraception.
Wait, so are we talking about the monarchy now or the church?
Well, yesterday we were in a bunch of churches and I thought, wow, church art is always spectacular. Then I remember that the reason there are always fabulous pictures in the church is because they were addressing the people who could not read. So they had to paint everything for the people who couldn't read. Clever, huh?
Clever. It's how they appealed to the lowest common denominator.
Well, I think it's their redeeming quality. The fact that they built so much beautiful architecture.
And preserved it.
Yes.
Which is something we don't do.
Yes. Well, we do, and then we sell it off to collectors.
Up next on the flip trip, more scenic sights in this fairy tale town.
From Český Krumlov Castle, we walk to town with our guide on our way to the Vltava River.
So shall we go on the tour on the water?
Yeah, let's
go this way.
30 years ago, our guide told us, this pretty town was pretty much in ruins. After the Velvet Revolution, however, the buildings were acquired by private citizens, and the restoration work continues to this day.
Just if you look here, so you can see here one of the old remains of the city wall.
Oh my gosh!
So this is actually the last remain. A lot of buildings were renovated in like modern way.
We concluded our tour of Český Krumlov the same way we started this season, on a boat on the Vltava, toasting the beauty of the Czech Republic.
To our left and to our right are really old, reconstructed buildings, many of them bought after the Velvet Revolution. And I hear some of them are still for sale, so would you consider buying?
I would.
It's obviously very cold, so we're drinking hot griotka, which is a kind of sherry brandy, warm sherry brandy that's perfect for this kind of weather because sometimes, there's raindrops.
We're shooting this in October when it's rainy.
And it's full of tourists, many of them Asian.
There's been a lot of drinking on this trip.
Because it's cold and also because it's so cheap.
Beer is cheaper than water.
Yes, if you go to a restaurant, if you want to save money, just have the beer.
A meal here costs maybe 500 pesos per person. Mm-hmm. And that's including your coffee and maybe a dessert.
There's a 10% mandatory tip, which is like the 10% service charge back home. Yes.
Yeah, so it's very affordable here. So day is turning tonight in Český Krumlov, and we're sailing down the Vltava River, which is an excellent way to see the city.
Yes, and an excellent way to end the day, really.
We're already getting a little bit drunk. Cheers, Jessica.
Okay, cheers.
Another one, Jessica. One more. Let's go back.
Our Czech trek is now over. We drove back to Prague to catch our flight. Pepe and I took Qatar Airways, which flies between Manila and Prague daily, with a layover in Doha, which has a fabulous airport. The Middle East carrier was awarded the 2017 Airline of the Year by Skytrax, and it shows.
At the beautiful Doha airport, we stopped by the Qatar Airways Al Morjan Business Lounge for some R&R. Offering surroundings that rival those of any five-star hotel, the lounge redefines the world standard in airport lounge experiences. The moment we entered, we got a taste of Arabian heritage. We enjoyed the resort-like ambiance, the delicious buffet, and the unparalleled hospitality. Qatar Airways and One World First Class and Business Class passengers can access this lounge with no additional cost, while economy class passengers can purchase lounge access.
We're at the Al Murjan Lounge of the Hamad International Airport in Doha, Qatar, on our way home after 8 days in the Czech Republic.
We visited castles and churches, sensed ghosts, and heard blood-soaked history lessons.
We ate a lot of sausages and drank a lot of beer.
We drove 1,000 miles around the country from Prague to Litoměřice, Olomouc, Brno, Maloboslav, Český Krumlov, České Budějovice, and back to Prague.
Yeah, we walked a lot of steps and climbed a lot of stairs.
And we laughed our heads off, but were deeply moved by the handwritten letters of Jose Rizal to his soulmate, Ferdinand Blumentritt.
I mean, who writes a letter that starts with, by the time you read this, I will be dead. And then, by the way, hi to your family and here's a math book.
What a nerd.
So the question is, if you were to make a movie about the Czech Republic, what would it be like?
It's a beautiful coming-of-age piece.
Yes.
That may or may not involve some risque material.
Historical figures.
It would be a coming-of-age movie about a young man named Pepe, and that's all he's gonna be named.
Yeah.
It'll be about how he traveled across Europe and ended up in a small town called Litoměřice, where he got close to his soulmate named Ferdy.
Ferdy, and you know, and eventually the fort is named after him.
Yeah. If you could write a book about our trip or about the Czech Republic, what would it be about?
Well, I have two ideas for books. First is about the Czech history of resistance, because really, you know, they have a fantastic history of resisting. And the other novel would be about a hairless Serbian who somehow winds up in the Czech Republic.
Now the question, could you live in the Czech Republic?
Oh, yes. As I've mentioned, in Prague, I will live at the Hotel Imperial. And I would also like to live in Brno, which is like Prague, but more relaxed.
Same Brno. It was the energy that I felt in the place. There's so many young people and some really nice hipster shops. I could fit in maybe if I was more of a hipster.
Come to the Czech Republic now, while you can climb many, many flights of stairs.
It's beautiful, it's cheap, and
no, don't
accessible.
say cheap. Say
it's affordable.
It's affordable.
Very affordable.
2.3 exchange rates to the Czech Republic. Na zdraví.
Na zdraví. I'm Pepe and I travel for inspiration.
I'm Jessica Zafra and I travel for material. This was Czech Trek.
Watch more at thefliptrip.com and look for us on Facebook and Instagram.